up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Up front is a 3.0-liter turbocharged diesel V6, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this here 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee for one major reason. It is diesel. That's right, I was completely unaware that they sold these with a diesel engine, let alone a V6 diesel, which is a very interesting configuration. I see a lot of inline sixes when I film cars, I see a lot of V8 diesels, but not often do I see a V6. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers as well as other merchandise when it becomes available. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form. You get a video of your car, just like this one, and you could read my behind-the-scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that diesel V6. Well, it makes 240 horsepower and about 420 foot-pounds of torque. Now, that is some pretty good numbers for the Grand Cherokee, and that torque number is what you really want to worry about. The diesels are better for towing. That's actually why the owner, Patrick, bought this particular one. However, it is kind of interesting that it is a V6. The reason they did a V6 was to better compact the engine. An inline six would just be way too long. You'd have it sticking out the front of the Jeep and cause pedestrian safety issues. The V8 would be just way overpowered, and an inline four wasn't powerful enough. So in order to do a diesel Cherokee, they had to go with the V6 turbo. Now, this engine was designed and built by an Italian company, VM Motori, who are owned by Fiat, sure, but they don't only do Fiat things. They also build industrial engines for generators and marine, as well as they also built the engine in the diesel Colorado. If you guys remember that video, that quote-unquote Duramax is actually built by the same company that builds this V6 diesel for the Jeeps. The reason they call that a Duramax, well, Chevy paid them a little bit of extra coin to let them do that. Like I said, paired to it is that 8-speed automatic transmission. It's downshifting quite a bit because this Jeep does redline at 4,500 RPM. It's really working up and down those gears quite a fair amount. You get used to it. It's not that bothersome. However, just something that I noticed. Last but not least, this is four-wheel drive, and we do have some options for that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But I do want to talk about how this Jeep drives. What is it like to drive a diesel Grand Cherokee? Well, cruising around at normal speeds, you don't notice it. I really couldn't tell much that this is a diesel, besides the fact of when I hear the engine note a little bit, it does sound a little school bussy. And of course, at idle, you hear that signature diesel sound. But if I were to put big earmuffs on, I don't think I'd really be able to tell that this was a diesel just from driving it around. What you do notice, however, is torque on acceleration. It has so much low-end torque that it feels very fast. Is this a fast vehicle? Not really, but it does give you that kick in the chest when you floor it from a stop. And diesels have been known to do that across all the diesels I've driven, so it's really, really nice to see that here in the Cherokee. Here we go. Whoa. It doesn't rev very high, but it's like seeing a boulder fall off a mountain. You're like, is it gonna go? Is it gonna go? It's going! And then it plops into the water and you start your day over. But I love it. With that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have some digital and physical gauges. On the left is my tachometer. On the right is my coolant temperature and fuel, reminding you that this is a diesel, so diesel-specific gauges. As well as in the center, I do get a screen that I can customize to show me a bunch of different things. I love Mopar, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, whatever you want to call them. They are very, very good at doing this. They give you tons of information when it comes to these screens, and they're also full of color. You know, I actually feel like Jeep spent some time designing these, which is definitely nice to see. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my selector dials for that screen and the gauge cluster we just talked about, as well as my phone options and voice commands. And off to the right, I have my cruise control settings and some blank switches, as well as around the back of the steering wheel, I do have paddle shifters if that's something I would like to do. I do get a Jeep logo in the center, nothing crazy. And off to the left, I have my vent, headlight switches, gauge dimmer switches, and my gas cap release. Moving out of the door, because this is the Limited, I get this nice little wood trim, as well as the handle to get in and out, my power mirrors, power windows, and power locks all the way down at the bottom. Moving into the center, we do have the typical Jeep infotainment system. Again, like the gauge cluster, I do like how many colors you get in this. Just makes it feel a little bit nicer. However, like the Durangos, you can run climate controls. Heated seats are ran through here, which I am not a big fan of. Just in case this screen ever breaks and your heated seats are already turned on, you won't be able to turn them off, which is not the best if I'm being honest. Here's the backup camera, not super high quality, however it works, and this was pre-government mandate, so Jeep didn't have to give you a backup camera for this, but they did because they're nice gentlemen or whatever. Down below the screen, we do have the screen off, hazard switch, and back button, as well as tune and volume, some very nice features there. And then we have the climate controls. I do get dual zone climate, very nice. Again, this is the Limited trim, so it's not the bottom, it's not the top. And I have parking sensors on and off, eco on, and traction control off at the bottom. Then I do get a nice little cubby for whatever you want it to be. And then we have the center console. Off to the left is the shifter. Now there was a recall, however it still doesn't feel amazing. I'm not in love with it, but it is what it is. But off to the right, we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Here's the thing, the bottle sits in it, and I've been driving around, the bottle hasn't fallen over, but also the bottle doesn't go towards the bottom of the cup holder. I feel like that's kind of cheating. If you sat on top of a school bus, you might not fall off the top, but you're not really in the bus. So that's how I feel about these cup holders. So unfortunately, I have to give the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited Diesel a fail for the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have some drive modes. So first of all, I can do four-wheel drive lock and hill descent control off to the left. But then I have snow, sand, auto, mud, and rock settings. So if I want to do some serious off-roading here in the Jeep Grand Cherokee, I definitely can. And I have some nice settings to do so. Then I do get a center console, nothing crazy there. And the seats are very comfortable. Chrysler in this era was pretty good about their seats, pretty comfortable. They are heated and ventilated, which are very, very nice options that I'm pleasantly enjoying and really add to the Limited package. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, and a couple of things to note back here. I do have heated seats back here, very, very nice. On this little center stack, I do get adjustable vents. I get 2 USB outlets and a regular wall outlet. Tons and tons of charging options here in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Love that. I also do get a center console back here, 2 cup holders, and I have plenty of space. Sitting back here is very, very comfortable. I can sit like a normal adult. My knees are not hitting the seat in front of me. My head is not hitting the ceiling. I get to enjoy the beautiful skylight here. Very, very good. I love sitting back here. This is a nice full-size SUV, and this does not have a third row, so it has enough space to be comfortable. It doesn't have to squeeze to try to fit a third behind you. It's just 2 and done. Love that. Let's go hop around the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space. Then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. It is a power tailgate. And once we are back here, we do get some hooks and things. We have our tailgate close button right here, as well as I do have a 12-volt outlet that will only work when the car is on. That's what that little key emblem is. And down here, we can pull... Patrick, what the fuck? And down here, we do have a spare tire. Obviously, the floor mats are down here and things like that. But overall, great trunk and cargo space. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and honestly, I think this Jeep looks very vanilla. I think it looks very average. I don't think it looks too special in any category, and that's a little disheartening to me. Because this is the diesel, I was kind of hoping for something special to tell people, hey, this isn't your dad's Jeep Grand Cherokee. This is different. This is one of them diesels. However, I guess beggars can't be choosers when it comes to the exterior. I think it's fine. It does the job. But now, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited diesel? Well, I really like it. Something that definitely stands out to me, the main thing that stands out to me, is the fuel economy. This, on average, driven by my friend Patrick, who doesn't have the lightest foot in the world, averages 26.1 miles to the gallon in a Jeep. That's pretty freaking good. There are minimal downsides to buying the diesel version, and really the only things that come to mind are the sound and driving feel. It does feel a little bit different, and it definitely sounds very different than your typical Jeep Grand Cherokee. If you're familiar, if you've driven bunches and bunches of Jeep Grand Cherokees in the past, and you switch to this one, yeah, you're gonna be able to notice. But if you drive diesel vehicles anyway, you're not gonna even think twice about the sounds this thing is making. And that's really nice. So I guess that could go here or there, but I don't really view it as that much of a downside. It's just more something that I pointed out and less something to avoid. Here's the issue with diesel vehicles here in America. Us Americans are very, I don't want to say against, but we don't like diesels here in America. I know in Europe and Asia, diesels are kind of the way to go, and a lot of vehicles you can get your hands on come in diesel. But that's not the case here in America. And almost every new diesel SUV or car that gets launched ends up failing in a couple of years. If not 1 year, like the Mazda CX-5 we got in diesel here, but it only lasted one single model year, and they barely sold any of them. Now, diesel trucks get all the praise in the world, and it's kind of a dichotomy because diesel trucks are the best version of those trucks, but diesel SUVs are the worst version in people's minds. It's very strange. But apparently ever since the 70s, the American public has just been sour on diesels. They don't like the clanginess. They don't like the loudness. I told my mom, she drives a CX-5, and I said, hey, you know, they make a diesel version. And she goes, I don't want a loud, clangy, obnoxious car. And I'm like, they're not. They're not anymore. They used to be, but diesels are quiet now. And she goes, I'm happy with my car. And while that might be the case, I think a lot of Americans her age feel that way. And so almost every SUV or non-truck diesel here in the United States meets the same fate. And unfortunately, the Jeep Grand Cherokee did as well. This was offered from 2014 till 2019, where they took it off the market. Right now, they're doing an eco diesel in the Gladiator. We'll see how that works out, but I can't imagine it'll be for long. So here's another car that I can bring to the channel and say, we let a good one go. 26 miles to the gallon in a Jeep Grand Cherokee with fun torque. I really love this Jeep. I think it's a great car. It just wasn't meant for us Yankees, I guess. Maybe one day we'll change that narrative, but for today, diesel SUVs and cars don't really have a place here. Except for BMW and Mercedes. Somehow they sell, but huge thank you to my good friend Patrick for letting me take out his Jeep Grand Cherokee. We've been trying to do this review for a little while. Patrick's absolutely awesome. He's a near and dear friend of mine, and I appreciate him very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.